Hello and welcome to the video. Today we're painting up the Space Marine Sniper from the Kill Team starter set, and since I've already painted up a Space Marine from this set, with this one I'm going to speed through it until we get to the Cloak area, which is what I really wanted to focus on. So with that, let's get started. After priming him black, I came in with burnt red to do the base coat over the armor, just like I did the previous Space Marine. I also wanted to take this chance of using a new microphone that I got for Christmas, so please let me know in the comments if I sound better than I do in the normal videos. Now I'm coming in with the blood red speed paints to do the second layer over the armor. This color red gives me a much more darker, dried blood look that I'm going for the Flesh Terror chapter that I'm painting up. I'm going to come in with matte black. And we're going to do the straps, the pouches, the knee pad, the gun, and everywhere else that the primer didn't really cover that good. I'm going to use plate mail metal to do all of the metallic parts on the gun, his goggles, and a couple of the little buckles on his pouches. I'm going to use Mephiston Red here to do the first of the edge highlighting. As I've said previously, I'm certainly no expert on these edges. I do the best that I can, and it usually comes out alright. For tabletop quality, I think it does a nice job, but we're going to come back in and highlight this up a little bit more with the next color. Here I'm using Demigod Flames to bring up some of the corners and the peaks on the edge highlighting, and this is just to make them stand out a little bit more, just to draw the eye to these higher points. I use Mechanicus Standard Gray to do the black highlights, and here we're just doing this on all of the black areas, the pouches, the shoulder pads, the knee pads. And this is just to separate out the black a little bit and give it some interest. We're also going to put this on the edges of the gun and along the barrel where I think a little bit of reflection might show. Now we come in with some brass, and he only has a couple little pieces like a bullet hanging down, the skull on the gun, and the Purity Seal has brass. I'm going to hit the Purity Seal paper with beige. And I'm going to use Corpse Pale for his face. There's not a whole lot of flesh here, so it just took a few minutes to touch it up. It's actually a little more difficult to reach than what I thought it would be. Now we're going to start the cloak, and I'm going to use three base colors: Mechanicus Standard Gray, Wolf Gray, and Ghost Gray. I wanted to start with three shades of gray: a dark, a medium, and then a very light. And what I'm going to do on the cloak is I'm going to start with the darkest one first, and we're going to do almost like trapezoids shapes on it. From all of the reference pictures, that seems to be the camo pattern that most of these guys wear. And this was actually kind of fun to paint. I tried to do them in random patterns, but what I'm doing first is just putting down an initial layer, and I'm gonna have to go back over these with maybe 2, even 3 layers on some of them to get them to fill in nicely. Now I'm coming in with Wolf Gray for the medium tone, and the same thing, I'm just making like trapezoid shapes with this. I'm making them connect with the previous ones that I painted, and in some cases I'm having them overlap or go underneath the initial patterns. I think that this is already turning out to be pretty cool. I'm happy with how they are, and just do the best you can if you're trying to do straight lines like me. Just do the best that you can. It actually wasn't too difficult to do. The folds of the cloak can kind of hide some of, if you're not real steady with it, they can kind of hide some of the imperfections, but I think it turned out pretty well. Finally, I'm using Ghost Gray, and the exact same thing. I'm just making the same types of patterns, I'm having them connect, and in some cases go over or underneath the previous ones. And if you're doing this pattern, you can use any colors that you want. I kind of went with this because most reference pictures I saw were of a gray tone, and I figured within like a rubbled area where there's a lot of concrete and such, I thought that the grays would kind of fit in well for breaking up the pattern. Now to tie it all together, I'm coming back in and I'm going to do a dry brush with the Mechanicus Gray. I'm just doing a very light dry brush, and I feel like this kind of helps blend everything together and sort of ease some of the stark contrast with the patterns. So off camera, I went ahead and painted up the majority of the base, and now I'm going to do the purity seal. I use these needle drawing pens to write or scribble the messages on the purity seals. For me, I used to use brushes, but then I would kind of end up with big blobs sometimes as I wasn't able to get it as fine as I wanted. But these pens have been really fantastic for just writing like a little bit of scribble on these. I used Livery Green here to just dot the lenses on his goggles and also the scope of the rifle. I figured it would give it like an infrared sort of look to it, or a night vision goggle look. I'm using pure white here just to mark out these little clips on the cloak, and then also for the power cable that is inside of the cloak. So to match the rest of the squad, I wanted to do a little bit of battle damage on him. So I'm going to start with the white and then come back in with the black and then come back in with a little bit of silver on it. I figured since this guy's a sniper, he might not be on the front line, so I didn't go overboard with the scratches and marks on his armor. I figured he'd have a little bit from crawling around and getting in position and such, maybe a little bit of fighting, but I didn't really go overboard to show that he'd been in close combat much. And with this, I'm coming in with the black and we're just going into where the white was, and then we'll come back in and just add a little bit of silver on top of that. And in my opinion, it shows a nice effect of a little bit of scratches and dings in the armor where, you know, maybe he scratched it touching something or was hit by some debris. Now it's time for the decals. And I've shown this in my previous videos, so again, I'm kind of going through this quickly, but you just cut out your decals, soak them in a little bit of water. I used Microsol to paint the area where you're going to put the decals, and this Microsol is really good for softening the decals. It makes them more flexible and it makes them bend a little bit more so that they conform to the curves on the armor here. You want to let the chemical do the work and soften them up a little bit. Give them a little bit of time to set, and then sometimes I use a Q-tip to just press down any little creases that may have occurred. I used this pigment powder to come in and just show that maybe the cloak had been dragging a little bit into the dust and debris. I'm just very lightly going over it with a brush and just kind of pushing it on there. I don't want this guy to be a plague marine, I just want to show a little bit of wear on the cloak. And with that, he's all finished. I'm really happy with how he came out. I think he looks really cool. He's going to fit in well with the other members of the unit, and yeah, I think that he's cool. I think a flesh tear sniper is a little weird. They're probably out there in the front line going berserk, but you know, since he came in the kit, we painted him up and he looks awesome. So with that, I want to thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed and I hope that this inspires you to get some of your miniatures painted up. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.